Hello, gamers! Welcome back to Season 2 of Dress Up Disasters Podcast.
Woo-woo.
I'm your host, Circuit, here with the other host,
Alycas. I forgot what my name was!
We haven't recorded for 2 months and forget how to do this. What is a podcast, you guys?
Yeah, I haven't had to refer to myself that way in a little while. I haven't been to a con either, so I haven't been referring to myself that way.
Anyways, we bring you the first episode of 2025.
Hey, yo!
And the first episode of the new season, as you can surmise.
Exciting.
And today we are going to be ranking all of the cons we have either been to together or separately, going from best to worst. Considering I've been going to cons for almost 12 years now, and 2025 marks a
decade for me.
Yes.
Yeah, because I attended my first con in 2015. I wanted to be attending earlier, but I was not allowed to because my dad had been to exactly one Star Trek convention in the 80s and was like, that's weird kink shit, you're not allowed to go. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, fine, that's fair.
Yep.
And we're not just going to be ranking them by, the overall con. We'll be ranking them by each year that we attended that con. Because some conventions have had wonderful years one year and then a terrible year the next, so...
Whether it's at the fault of the con, or people we were with, or just the circumstance.
Yeah, 'cause some of these are definitely circumstantial.
Yeah, so that marks, not including the one-day cons we have locally, because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
20 cons for me.
And 23 for me.
23? I thought
Yeah.
it was 24.
I redid it, and it was only 23.
Okay.
I thought it was 24. I was a little surprised when I was writing it down, not gonna lie.
Okay.
I miscounted the first time.
Do you want to bring up your top first, or
My top?
I think it's the same,
Yeah,
right?
we have the same one. My overall top con that I've been to in the in the 10 years that I've been attending conventions was KomoriCon 2024.
Hello.
It was so fun.
I love KomoriCon.
KomoriCon,
so much.
yeah, takes up 2 of the 5 top spots for me. It is my top con overall by any convention I've ever attended. Mm-hmm. But 2024 was so fun because I got to be reunited with old friends, meet new friends that I have only ever known online, and just the vibes at KomoriCon are so nice.
We also had 2 successful panels.
Yeah, very
KomoriCon
successful
this year,
panels. I really enjoyed them.
I hope that you have listened to and or watched, because they were the last 2 episodes before this one.
Exactly.
Because we went to Kumo and we're like, we want to do a Christmas episode, but what if we just didn't?
Yeah. Our Christmases were intense. I had 11 different either birthday parties, family parties, or work gatherings during the Christmas season. And so there was 1 week where I think I had 5 different things I was doing. I was working 1 week I worked 6 days straight and had 3 or 4 different things happening that week. It was crazy.
Anyways.
So there was no time for an episode. Sorry,
anyways, KomoriCon 2024.
Sorry.
Yeah. KomoriCon is my favorite con, period, that I've gone to. Even though 2024 also marked almost being hate crimed in a Denny's. Which, if you listen to the Cosplay Horror Stories panel...
It was there.
All the details are there, so if you haven't watched it, or if you want a refresher, go back and listen to it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karaoke is also a staple of KomoriCon.
Yeah, and it's always so fun. It's so fun. There's just so many things and intricate parts about how we experience KomoriCon that makes it, such a fun con, because we always do, karaoke either the Thursday or Friday night.
I think we're going to try and make Umbrella Lounge a yearly thing.
Yeah,
too,
the Umbrella Lounge was really fun. Just the panels that end up going on are really enjoyable. The lip sync contest, oh my god, that was so fun. That was so fun. The lip sync contest ends up taking 3.5 hours or something like that, and you do not feel it.
No.
When we got in there at 12:30, we got out of there by 3, and it did not feel like we'd sat there for 3.5 hours.
And that's after waiting in line for almost an hour.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I
know we have plans to be in it next year.
Yes,
assuming we can figure out how to cut the music down.
Yeah, but KomoriCon just has so many things to offer. There was also such delicious food there. There was a mac and cheese cart.
Oh, I dreamed about mac and cheese. It was so good.
I think about that mac and cheese often.
For convention food, it had no right being so good.
No, literally.
And also the actual unlimited drinks with the KomoriCon cup.
Yeah.
I'm bringing that cup with me every KumoriCon.
My water bottle is still the Oregon Convention Center water bottle.
Yeah, they're holding it right now.
I have it in my hand right now, like... That's my water bottle. Don't you love that?
I can only think of just hearing the sounds.
I'm so sorry for people with headphones.
Oh
I
goodness.
apologize for that. Do tell us in gory detail how that made you feel.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm going to be the one receiving all the messages. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, moving on to my second pick, because our top rated con is the same. This is where it starts to differentiate.
Yeah. It gets a lot different from here on out.
Yeah. My second pick, surprising no one, is KumoriCon 2023, which was our first year at KumoriCon, where we went with two of our other friends who did not go this year, unfortunately. But it was such a fantastic time.
Yeah.
And no near hate crimes.
Yeah, that one didn't have any near hate crimes.
But also, the vibes were just a little bit worse at that one, because like everyone was getting sick in various ways. The Red Robin did us dirty.
The Red Robin did us indeed very dirty.
Okay, the Red Robin did everyone else dirty. I was fine.
But it was like overall really fun. We'll get to my experiences with Kumo 2023 because it is in my top 4. But my second favorite convention year of all time was Katsu 2023. It was my first KatsuCon, so it was like, you know, like my intro to it and everything. And I want to preference this being in my second place, that by the time I got to the convention Thursday night, I had been awake for 50 hours. And it's still in my top. Like, it's still my second favorite con. It was just, the vibes were so good, and I got to meet so many of my friends that I had been friends with online for a lot of years. So it was the year that I met my friend Michaela, who goes by the Athena Seeker, or the Tina Seeker on Instagram, who I think wants to be a guest on this at some point. So, you know, you'll get to see more.
Michaela, watch your DMs.
Yeah, Michaela. And then I got to meet her for the first time officially, even though we've known each other since like 2020. On that Saturday, I got to debut a costume that I had been spending so much time working on. I made like 75% of the costumes that I wore to the convention. So like it felt really good for me because I was able to debut all these like really big pieces that I'd been working on, and so that was like really great. And then the vibes were just so good. And I went with friends that made it, like, really nice. And so, yeah, Katsu 2023 was just so much fun. So much fun. That was also the year that, like, there was just so many good memes that came out of that con because so many, like, really crazy iconic things happened.
Didn't someone shit in the KatsuCon gazebo that year?
Yes. Yeah, somebody shit in the KatsuCon gazebo. Which is why I made a meme about it the next year, about, like, hey, don't shit in the KatsuCon gazebo.
Just don't shit at con.
Yeah. My third place would be...
I don't get to go?
Okay, I went first with Kumo.
Yeah.
And then you went again for your second.
No. We've talked about Kumo at the same time, because it was the same one.
You said me first. What is your first? Okay, fine. Go. Talk about your third then. I always thought we were going back and forth like that. Anyways.
Oh, because it was the same one, so I figured since it was the same one, we talked at the same time.
Fair enough. We didn't discuss this previously, as you can see.
Which is funny, because we've been talking about the episodes we're recording today all day!
Oh my god, literally. At this point, it is going on 5 hours of us talking about and planning out the things we're going to record today / tomorrow.
We're so good at this.
We're professionals.
Anyways. This one is probably the biggest difference between Alycas and I, because my third spot is SoccerCon 2023.
Yeah. You'll find out in a while why there is such a discrepancy.
Yeah, why Cass here did not have a good time at SoccerCon. So, to preface, this SoccerCon was my first SoccerCon. I think it was my first American convention period. because I'm a broke little girl. And we were at the same con, but we did not con together.
Yeah.
We were with completely separate groups to this con. We barely even saw each other all weekend.
I saw you in passing twice.
Yeah. If that. And one of that was on the way after checkout of the hotel.
Yeah.
But it's my first time. It was my entire hotel room's first time at an American convention. So like vibes were really up. We were just partying, having a good time. It also didn't help that the costumes we were wearing were very popular, so we were getting stopped a lot because we did Mario bunny suits, which we had a bunch of people as a group for. I know Cass was going to do it because various reasons of why their SoccerCon sucked. They did not.
You'll find out. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out.
Yeah.
And we did a Critical Role group where I did my first Mighty Nine cosplay where we ended up doing that group twice because of how well it was received on the Saturday. And we also accidentally ended up in a very, very expensive, very fancy restaurant dressed in Critical Role cosplay.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize quite how fancy it was until it was too late. Because we saw the menu outside and we're like, oh, these are pretty reasonable prices. No problem. We can be here for lunch. And then we go inside and we see a wall of wine racks. And we're like, oh, that's kind of neat, I guess. And then we get seated and the table has a nice fabric tablecloth and fabric napkins. And they bring out the menu and they're explaining the menu and how it's a la carte. I have never had a more expensive mac and cheese in my life. I think it was like a $30 bowl of mac and cheese.
Damn.
Anyways.
So that's your number 3? Mm-hmm. My number 3 is also SakuraCon, but SakuraCon 2022, not 2023, as was yours. SakuraCon 2022 was my very first SakuraCon. It was, for a lot of people, their first con back since the pandemic. A lot of those early cons that happened at the beginning of 22 were a lot of people's first cons back, so the vibes were just absolutely immaculate. I went with 2 of my really good friends. It was all 3 of us, our first time at SakuraCon. It was also, like, the first time I had seen one of my other friends in quite some time, because, well, no, I saw her at Fan Expo, but, like, we hadn't seen each other a lot because of the pandemic and we live in different cities, that, like, we just hadn't seen each other very much since, like, 2019, so it was, like, kind of like a rebonding experience for some people, and then, like, getting to meet each other for the first time for the 3 of us, but we had an absolutely fantastic time. We got to meet a bunch of, like, people that, like, I got to meet people that had, like, influenced me in my early years of cosplay and I had been, like, fans of for a while, and just, like, the vibes were so good. That was also before they had the new building, so everything was in the old building, so you didn't have the stress of going between 2 buildings. Not that I really... I'll get into, like, how I feel about the 2 buildings in later ones, but it was just so good. Like, we went to fun panels, we went to, like, the rave, and we met so many, like, cool people and just had, like, so many good interactions.
I was very jealous watching your stories of that weekend. Like,
well, it was a con that I had not a singular bad experience. Mm-hmm. Like, everything was so good, and when I think about it, it is, like, it was only barely beaten out as my, like, top con for some other, like, you know, for some of the people that I got to meet and hang out with at Kumo and Katsu, respectively, for, like, the number 1 and 2 places. But, like, SOC 2022 will remain in my top 5 cons, I feel like, for many years to come. Like, that con just has such a warm, fuzzy place in my heart. It was just really good time.
Yeah, I remember sitting at home watching everyone be at SoccerCon, and I'm like, oh, I want to go.
And then you made that happen and had a great time the next year.
Well, you had the worst time ever.
Oh my god, that was like, oh, we'll get to it later. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is SoccerCon.
The one I didn't attend.
SoccerCon 2024.
Yeah. Because I was a broke bitch and I didn't have money.
That's because you went to Katsu instead. And fucking all the cons would happen all at the same time.
No, SOC was because I was broke. Katsu, Fan Expo and Katsu happened at the same time. Sock was because I was broke. Because I changed jobs last year. At the beginning of the year, and so I didn't have money.
Anyways, I went to SakuraCon. And you didn't.
Yeah.
We, that year, upgraded to a suite, which I don't think I'm ever going back, ever, staying at that hotel without the space of a suite ever again. Because we had 5 people in our hotel room. And with the suite, we easily could have fit another 1 or 2. And still be comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I know we have a suite booked for next year. Which is because it's just...
You mean this year?
This year. Fucking...
It's 2025!
Fuck! But that year, my mom came with, like, the year before, one of my other very, very good friends, and a few of our other friends were all together, and we all carpooled up together, because gas be expensive. We didn't end up being stuck in line for, like, 3 hours trying to get our badges, like, the year before. However, it's just...
I've always had really good, like, luck with getting badges at SOC for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck it was with SakuraCon 2023, but just our line took forever. But anyways, it's only below SakuraCon 2023 because the vibes were a little bit off, I feel. They weren't quite as, like, fun. Like, it was still a great time. Mm-hmm. Like, don't get me wrong. It's still a top 5 con for sure. But the vibes personally felt weird. And that could just be because I didn't know anyone else there.
Yeah, a lot of like us Vancouver people didn't go down for that one.
Yeah.
A lot of us were going through the same financial, we can't go.
Yeah, pretty much the only people Vancouver side that either of us knew who was going to be at that con
were in my
hotel room.
Yeah. And then I think like maybe 1 or 2 other people that I knew that were going.
Yeah.
But even a lot of like my Portland friends weren't coming up for it. Like a bunch of people I knew were just not going to SOC last year.
It's just such a big convention, and it's laid out so strangely that even if you did know people who were going, it'd be impossible to just run into them.
Yeah.
I much prefer how Emerald City lays out that convention center.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. What's your next pick there, buddy?
I'm gonna cross out
your,
the ones that
what, 5th?
4.
Pick? 4?
4, I haven't talked about. So, my number 4 was Kumo 2023.
Yeah, Kumo!
It was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Kumo, it just has fantastic vibes. And I had my very first panels that I had ever done at that con. So I did the Patterning 101 panel, and then I did Smut Roast, which... God,
that was fun.
So much fun. Still probably one of my favorite panels I've ever done. It was so much fun. Like, it was just fantastic vibes, and I really want to do it again. It does have to be, for obvious reasons, 18 plus, so there's only certain cons I can bring it to. But it was just such a fun time. We filled up the room. The reason why it is a little lower on the list is because my stomach issues I had at that con were just not a good time. But I got to meet my friend Aisha for the first time, which is like Bonfire Aisha.
And it was their birthday weekend?
It was their birthday weekend, so we were able to celebrate their birthday, and we went to karaoke, and we got to like see a bunch of friends, and it was just really good, and the vibes were great, and it was a good time. It was just a really good time. That's literally what I have to say about Kumo. Every Kumo, I'm like, it's a fun time. The vibes are great. I got to be a part of this full Sailor Moon group. We had a full Sailor Moon group of all 9 planets.
And your shoes broke.
Yeah. See, that's another reason why it's lower than 2024. But, like, we got to have a full Sailor Moon group. I got recognized by, like, the Sailor Moon... So I was Sailor... Neptune. And Sailor Neptune's voice actor passed me on the street and said, "Oh my god, I love your cosplay." And I was like, "Thank you." And she's like, "I voiced your character." And I about died on the street. I about, like, just perished right there on the sidewalk. But it was just like...
I bumped into a lot of voice actors that weekend.
Yeah,
just wandering around.
Yeah. It's kind of... It's that wild thing of, like, staying at the same hotel that the con, like, houses the voice actors and just, like, the guests and stuff. You constantly are running into them and you're like, hello?
Yeah, just
hello?
like my next pick.
Yeah.
Both of our next pick, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of funny. That's the same one again. Yeah, so, like, Kumo 2023 was just so good, but there was a couple things about it, like, getting physically ill, and, like, with Red Robin did my tummy dirty, and so that's why it's still in the top 5, but just a little bit lower.
Yeah, because Red Robin killed you.
Yep.
It killed Cole.
Yep.
It killed Sky a bit.
Yep.
I think it killed Aisha.
Aisha was already having stomach issues, so it wasn't helping.
I was the only one bawling.
Yeah.
Food can't get me down.
And then my shoes disintegrated, and I threw them out. It was kind of funny. Actually, I think this story is in we brought it to Kumo.
No, we brought it to AR.
AR.
Yep.
We brought it to Kumo because
both. No, because we switched that story for the crazy lady at Denny's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Even after I went back and found the photo, because I realized I had a photo somehow. But yeah, on my Instagram, if you look up the story highlighted it for Kumo for 2023, you can go see how absolutely eviscerated my shoes got for Sailor Neptune. I wore those shoes twice.
Yeah.
That was the second time I'd wore them, and they just died on contact with Earth.
My number 5 pick, this is the last of the top 5.
Yep.
Emerald City Comic Con 2024.
That also happens to be my number 5.
So
I guess we could talk about it together.
There's a lot of lore about Emerald City, our experience with Emerald City Comic Con 2024.
Yeah. The lore goes deep with this one, actually.
We were originally going to go together with some of Kaz's friends down in the States.
Yeah.
And they were going to get an Airbnb, and we were going to share in the Airbnb, and all was fine and dandy.
Yep.
And so we send off the money to Alycas's friend about the Airbnb, and
actually, my friend's boyfriend, because he was setting this all up.
Yeah. So, I think it was 2 weeks before the con?
2-3 weeks. It was so close.
He's like, hey guys, I got bad news. We don't got the Airbnb.
So what ended up happening was he was trying to negotiate when they would get the keys, when they could do things, and the lady was absolutely
not
a horrendous bitch about things. She was actually cussing and swearing at him and yelling at him when he was just asking, hey, I'm actually not going to be in town until this time, the day we're supposed to pick up the keys. Can I meet you at this time? And she ripped him a new asshole for daring to ask for a different time.
So needless to say, he canceled.
She was also wanting to charge us an extra $200 for that. And he was like, no. So we canceled.
Yeah. Needless to say, it's 2 weeks to con. And we're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I also wasn't able to borrow the car we were supposed to drive down in.
That's because that car had gotten stolen 2 weeks before.
Yeah. The car got stolen 2 weeks before I was supposed to take it down. So then we had nowhere to stay and no transportation.
Yeah, because from where we live to Emerald City Comic Con is about a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
I simply cannot drive.
Yeah. And I don't own a car, but I borrow sometimes my adopted dad's car.
Yeah.
And it was stolen.
So we couldn't actually. So, here we are, broke.
2 weeks before con.
Well,
no, 3.
We finally got our money. We got our money back.
Yeah.
From the failed Airbnb attempt, because the one that they found just would not house all of us, which is fine. Okay. And I look at my hotels.ca account, and I go, wait a minute. I have a free night. We're only going down for half of the convention. I can book for the con hotel and get a discount.
Yep.
So that's what we did.
Yep.
We got the 2 nights or whatever for the Regency. And we're like, okay, fine. Now, how are we getting there?
Mm-hmm.
So my mom had expressed really wanting to go to Emerald City.
It's her dream con. She'd always wanted to go.
Cons, yeah. She's always wanted to go to that con. And especially after Critical Role was announced to be guesting.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. We'll be like, hey, my mom really wants to go anyways. You know, she's got wheels. It'll work out better in everyone's favor.
Yep.
If, she comes with, and then we don't worry about. And then we also have another way to split the hotel cost. Because even with the discounted night, it was still going to be more expensive than the Airbnb would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since PayPal took fees.
Yeah.
So we didn't even get the full amount back for the freaking hotel room.
Yeah.
Which I hate PayPal. I'm sorry.
I have serious beef with PayPal constantly.
America, get your e-transfers on game, please, dear God.
Yeah, in Canada, we're literally able to go bank to bank. In my bank app, I can just send somebody an interact transfer.
With no fees.
With no fees and nothing. So,
It's
America, get your shit together,
Yeah,
honestly. Thank you.
Get your fucking shit together, America. Anyways. So I finally get to Emerald City Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
And now a big part of me going to Emerald City Comic Con was I was going to get a bunch of autographs for friends of who are fans of the Critical Role cast. Like, I have a friend who's really into fruit baskets, so they wanted to get an autograph from Laura Bailey, so on and so forth. I wanted to get an autograph from Taliesin, all this stuff. So my Saturday is entirely comprised of lines.
Yeah.
I was in the Taliesin Jaffe line, then I was in the Marisha Ray line, the Laura Bailey line, that line alone took almost 3 hours, which is unprecedented. Emerald City Comic Con, I am coming for you. Get your line management under control. Dear God, please. Never again.
Yeah. But I got to spend the whole of Saturday hanging out with my friend Michaela, which is the second time we've gotten to see each other, and so I had a fantastic Saturday.
Oh, yeah, you had a great time.
Yeah.
In our matching cosplays that we couldn't get any pictures of because we were away with each other the whole weekend. I'm sweating my ball off. That was also the same convention where we accidentally nearly trapped Dante Bosco in the rolling door at the Hyatt Regency.
Yep.
Which that is a story on the KomoriCon cosplay horror stories.
I also very confidently, so I only had a Saturday badge. We got there Friday night, so there wasn't really anything that we really did Friday night. We hung out with friends, we walked around a bit. Saturday was LineCon. Now, you had a 4-day badge, and your mom had a 4-day badge.
Well, okay, she had a Sunday badge,
Yeah.
and then bought from a scalper on the side of the street Saturday badge.
Yes, right. And so then all of us had different badges, but we found out that okay, don't do this, all right? I am airing out my sins to you, but don't tell
Do as we say,
this.
not as we do.
Yeah. So we had to check out early on Sunday, so I had kind of intended to just kind of stay in a hallway somewhere.
Like LobbyCon it.
Like LobbyCon it a little bit, because I didn't want to be outside. It's cold. It's March. It's the beginning of March in Seattle. It was cold. And so we discovered, because you had a 4-day badge, that other than a little kind of different art, the colors of both badges were the same, and one said 4-day.
It was like one shade difference.
Yeah, it was like a little shade difference. One said Saturday, one said 4-day. So I was like, if I put my thumb over the Saturday and walk in with incredible balls through because like they have like body scanners and people checking the badges. Like, it is intense to get into the building. And I was like, if I get in, I get in. If they send me away, that's honestly on me. That's fine.
What are they gonna do? Take my badge away?
No, literally, what are they gonna do? Take my badge? Like, so we happened to walk in just as there was a big rush of people, and I, full balls, made direct eye contact with not one, not two, but 3 staff members holding my badge up very confidently, and I walked in. I did not leave the building for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's no way I'm repeating that. And we were in, like, the new building, the Summit building, so it was the building with a lot more stuff happening. And I was like, it's fine that I can't leave and go to the other building. Because
that building had the arcade.
Yeah.
It had all the authors.
It had like the
4 floors of vendors hall.
Yeah. It had all of the, like, good stuff.
Artist alley, too.
So I was like, okay.
Pretty much all the shopping.
I'm staying in here. I'm not leaving. And I did technically, illegally be in the con for Sunday.
Paid.
I paid.
Just not
for Saturday. For not the right day. So, you know, this is to cons. If you're gonna have, like make sure your badge.
Hey, you know, technically my mom also broke con rules with buying the Scout Pass, because technically the badges at Emerald City are non-transferable.
Oh, yeah. So there we go.
I was the only one actually cleared by con rules.
Yay. But now you know my sins.
And we're not going to be repeating them this year in the city. Don't worry.
I'm buying, like, I have a full pass. My boyfriend's coming.
Anyway, do you want to do your next one? Okay.
You can go.
All right. My, what is this, 6th slot? Anime Revolution 2022, which is a Vancouver convention. This was the first anime convention back from COVID in my area. The second back period. Now, the one downside for this convention, I'd say, was the fact that I decided to stay at a hotel in a different city because I was working for a hotel chain at the time. So I got a discount with that certain hotel chain. It's just that the closest one I could stay to, the con in, with this employee discount of mine, was in Burnaby, which, if y'all don't know, the Metro Vancouver, Greater Vancouver area, is about a 30-minute SkyTrain ride away, give or take. About the same by car-ish, give or take. And it was the middle of August, and uphill from the SkyTrain station. So going to and from the convention center was not a fun time.
No. And
not a fun time at all.
Yeah, and it was like, and those like cars get real hot in the summer. Like I almost got sick coming back one of those days of that con.
Yeah, well, we SkyTrained in and out the whole time.
Me
and
too.
Then we had to walk.
Because I was also in Burnaby.
Yeah, we had to walk up the hill to get to the hotel. Other than that, though, great time.
Yeah.
You know, first con I hung out with this loser.
Hey. It's like that was the first con we like officially met.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah. It's also the con that has a horse story from our first cosplay horse stories panel. Which, you know, that in itself is a whole other can of worms. But, you know, we went to get boba, had a great time at the rave. That's also, I think, the con where I officially met Rem,
too.
That was the first time I hung out with them. And it was just a lot of dear memories came from that specific con, which was fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so my number 6 spot takes us all the way back to 2015. And I think, so this was my very first convention. This was Phoenix Comic Con 2015. It is now called Phoenix Fan Fusion, but it was called Phoenix Comic Con at the time. This was my very first con. I flew all the way from Vancouver for the very first time to go to this con with my friends that lived in Phoenix. It was my very first convention. We went for all 4 days. I made, in total, 12 costumes to go to this con because none of my friends could sew, which in itself is a horror story.
Don't ever do that.
Don't ever do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Your friends can make their own costumes or they can figure it out themselves.
Did your friends at least pay you?
No, I paid for everything.
Ugh.
Because one of my friends didn't have a job and the other one was like a broke college student. I actually paid for one of my friends to go to the con entirely. I bought her pass.
Girly.
Yeah. I was one of the only ones with a full-time job.
Well, what a great lesson in what not to do.
Yeah. But like that wasn't a problem with the con itself. It was really fun. Like it was just it made me immediately fall in love with cosplay. It made me immediately fall in love with like con culture and everything like that. It was just such a good time. The reason I rank it so high is simply because I think it was my first con and I did have a really good time. The only bad feelings I have about the con was like one weird Loki cosplayer and the fact that I made 12 costumes before the con and should not have done that. But other than that, like the actual convention itself, we went to a bunch of panels. I got to meet Michael Shanks, who plays Daniel Jackson in Stargate SG-1, which is like I don't talk about it very often. It's not something that's like super well known about me, but that is like my favorite piece of media. I would watch it religiously when it came out on TV when I was like 8 years old. It means so much to me and is the reason I'm a ginormous history nerd. So getting to meet him was just insane to me. Especially considering he doesn't really do cons anymore. He doesn't do anything like that anymore. That was like one of, I think, the last cons I ever saw him like actually attend. So it was kind of like crazy to me. But like it was a great introduction to conventions and cosplay as a whole and things like that. Like I had so many good memories about it, and so I rank it that high simply for nostalgic reasons. And that I don't actually have like a lot of bad memories to associate with it. But yeah. Nostalgia.
Yay.
Yay.
Now my next con is surprise, surprise, another one in 2020 in the 2020s.
Yeah.
Which is Fan Expo 2022, which is the first convention locally back from COVID.
Yep.
Because it was like February-ish 2022.
Yeah.
It's also where I met literally every single friend I currently have.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much why it's
because
so
we started
high.
following each other right around.
Yeah.
Like right after, like at the con or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mutualed that weekend.
Yeah.
After I took a selfie with Grim.
Yeah. My first memory of you is tall Levi.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sitting in the hotel room and I'm like, oh, follow. Oh, I know these people. Yay.
Yeah.
Friends. Yippee. That is also the same convention where, you know, as you said, I was cosplaying Levi from Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Where I had to duct tape myself into the costume I was wearing. Because the harness that I had for the ODM gear was like a decade old at that point. And the thing about pleather that I did not realize at the time was that shit disintegrates.
Yo.
And it very much did so. So I had to duct tape myself into the ODM gear, which then made it where I could not use the restroom until I got back to the hotel room and took it all off.
I would not have been able to do that.
No.
Actually, one of my like really bad cons at the end involves me wearing a costume that was incredibly difficult to be in.
Yeah. I do not recommend it. I don't think I'd be able to do that now.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
It's one of those things you do in your teens and you look back and you're like, that was a choice. Except you weren't a teen.
In my 20s. But yeah, you know, that was also one of the first cons where I actually stayed local. I didn't drive in. I didn't have a hotel room far away. Even though there was some drama trying to actually get a hotel room, but that's besides the point. It was my first time trying to book a hotel room, so don't at me. Don't at me. What do you got for your next one?
I have Katsucon 2024. That is my number 7.
I want Katsu so bad.
Katsucon is such a fun con. I guess the only reason why I ranked it a little lower was because the vibes were only slightly more crunchy than like the first time around.
You also stuffed your hotel room more than you did the year before for that one, didn't you?
Yeah, but that wasn't really a problem. It didn't end up like becoming a problem.
No, it still adds stress to the weekend too, though.
Yeah, it was just my friend group didn't really stay together very much for that con. We all split off. So instead of like us staying together a little bit more, I barely saw half of the people I roomed with that entire con, except for when we were on the plane and when we were in the room. And then we also, at that con, had the fire alarm go off because somebody burnt a Pop-Tart in the microwave on floor 6. And so we got kicked out in booty shorts in February in Virginia. So that was like that does like move it on down the list a little bit, but I did maintain not being drunk but a nice buzz for 7 hours at that con. So that was nice.
I love one of your highlights of that KatsuCon was being buzzed.
It made the like nightlife at the con easy enough for my little autistic brain to handle. It was a lot of fun. I did get to see some like Vancouver people that I'd never met physically but followed while there.
Gotta go across the continent to meet local people.
No, it's true though. It's true though. The amount of Canadians that I met at both of my of the Katsus that I've been to that are local is insane.
Being mistaken for twin fools.
That was 2023. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. So yeah, Katsu 2024 is my number 7 spot. I really enjoyed it. It was fun, but there was definitely some things that made it a little more crunchy.
Is that all you got for that Katsu?
Yeah.
All right, my next one. Again, you could tell I put all the recent ones higher.
Yeah, except for like Phoenix Comic-Con 2015, all of my top 10 cons happened in the 2020s.
Well, my next entry to this is my last 2023 convention, which was AR 2023. Which, don't get me wrong, great time. Great time. It just, compared to the other ones, it just isn't quite as fantastic, just based on vibes. Because there's only so good Anime Revolution can be.
I just realized that I don't have AR 2023 on here.
Oopsie.
Well, that's fine.
I also almost forgot Fan Expo 2022. I literally wrote that in as you were really talking about, like, Soccer Con or something. But anyways, AR 2023. Again, you know, there's really not a whole lot to say about it. We're kind of getting into that section on my list where it's just like, it was a con. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I'm glad I went, but, you know, there's not a whole lot remarkable about it.
Yeah, that's kind of the same part we're getting into in mine as well.
Yeah.
It didn't blow my socks off, but I also wasn't sad I went.
I was there. I have the badge for it.
Yeah, it was a con. I saw friends. Had a good time.
Yep, pretty much.
That's
all I got for AR 2023.
I put Fan Expo 2022 at number 8. I had a really good time at Fan Expo 2022. I got to meet some friends that I had online that I'd never met before. It was my second con post-pandemic, first full con post-pandemic. The thing that kind of put it a lot lower for me was I went as Albedo for either Saturday or Sunday, and my friend went as Child, and those at the time were like the top husbands of Genshin Impact. Though everybody was absolutely on their knees drooling for those two men.
There's the sexy men of Tumblr, and then there's the sexy men of TikTok.
Yeah.
They were the sexy men of TikTok.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm about the canon height of Albedo, and then Sky is, like, 5'9", in a little bit of a lift shoe, so is pushing, like, 5'10", or taller as Child. So, like, we were quite a prized commodity and had several interactions with people kind of treating us like the character and not a human being. We did end up getting kidnapped by a gaggle of Genshin children.
Which is Komori-con horror story panel.
So if you want more of the tea on that one, suffice to say, I had a panic attack and had to go sit outside, and that was when I first saw you. Yeah. I was coming down from a panic attack. So that was fantastic. Yeah, Toll Levi.
You know what's something I've quickly realized?
What?
So far, all our top cons have been the ones with the most horror stories.
Yeah, but it kind of makes it memorable.
It does. Yeah. It really does.
But, like, it still, overall, was a good con. I had a good time. I got to see friends. And, my boyfriend was there. Was he? No.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was there. Fan Expo 22? Yeah, Fan Expo 22. I know he was at AR 22. I don't know if he was at Fan Expo 22. He might have been.
Who knows?
I can't remember. He might have come for one day.
He is an enigma.
He came for the Sunday because I did Ganyu. And that was a choice in February. Because the cold snap happened and it was -2 and windy outside during the day.
Especially because the convention center on Vancouver is right on the water, so you get ocean breeze.
Yeah, so it was -2 with wind chill, and I'm wearing Ganyu from Genshin Impact, which is essentially a bib front dress.
It's like a loincloth.
It's literally like a loincloth that kind of covers the titties. It's a loincloth
with a bra attached to it.
Yeah. So I was chilly. But, like, it still wasn't a bad con. So that's why it's still in the top 10, but not in the top 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was still good. Like, I had a good time. What's your number 9?
We're kicking it back about a decade.
Whoa!
Yeah. With my very first Anime Revolution of Anime Revolution 2014.
Ooh.
Where I was a little baby. I was 14, maybe 15. Mm-hmm. The pass was a Christmas present from my cousin, who took me on the Saturday, and my grandmother and uncle took me on the Sunday. It was also, as far as I'm aware, the first and only weekend that AR brought out Yaya Han, Meg Turney, Jessica Negri, and a couple other.
That's like a star-studded cast.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
As a little baby, this was my second convention ever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's my second. It might have been my third, depending on like when Fan Expo was around that year. But I have a selfie with Yaya Han from that weekend, and I really want to meet her again and show her my retribution, because that costume I wore. It was my first handmade costume, and my grandma helped me with it, and I love my grandmother to bits, and the construction of the actual garment was nice and good. However, the patterning of said costume just kind of emphasized how long I am as a person, which is not the effect you want when you're cosplaying a character like Ponyo.
Yeah.
There are pictures of it somewhere, I'm sure you could find if you really wanted to.
But some things are best.
Some things are best kept in the darkness.
Yeah.
Like that picture.
Yeah. My number 9 spot is AR 2022. I had a really good time, but like every AR, I did get heat stroke by Sunday. It's kind of like a running theme with me and AR. I get some level of heat stroke. 2022 was also like an absolutely insane convention year for me, because I did like back-to-back cons. And so I did Phoenix Fan Fusion, AR, and ECC in the course of a month.
Yeah, because that was the year Emerald City was in the summer.
Yeah, it was in August, and it was AR, a free weekend, and then ECC. I was literally back-to-back con within 11 days.
Not gonna lie, I kind of wish Emerald City went back to the summer.
Yeah, it was nice in the summer. It was quite the vibe. But AR 2022 was not too bad, other than the fact that I got heat stroke by Sunday. It was my first iteration of my child cosplay, Tartaglia from Genshin Impact. So I was feeling hot AF, not gonna lie. And I wore Beto, and who else did I wear? What did I wear on the Saturday? Because I know I wore Beto, something on Saturday, and then Child. And I think it was a full Genshin weekend, but I can't remember what I wore on the Saturday.
Might have been Child?
No, Child was Sunday. Because I closed the weekend wearing him. Anyways,
it was
the wife.
Yeah,
I went
you headbutted me in the face.
Yeah. And honestly, that Saturday was so fun. It was, my friend Sky was dressed as Femme Tengen, and then me, Cole, and Audrey, we were all dressed as the 3 wives, and that was so much fun. It was so fun walking around the con, seeing other Tengens and going, my husband! Or when the Tengens would see us, they'd be like, oh my god, it's my wife! Or we'd see other, like, people cosplaying the wives, and we'd be like, oh my god, it's our wives!
You also just looked all so good.
We looked so cute, guys. Like, if you really want, you can go on my Instagram and look. My friend also competed in the cosplay contest as, the spider lady, or one of the ladies from the red district arc, and they looked so good. It was so good. So we got some really fun photos. It was just like that Saturday was so much fun. If I hadn't gotten some minor heat stroke, then I think it would have probably ranked higher, but the heat stroke does usually impact how I feel. Also, that Sunday we had to walk like all the way to the Best Buy to go get an SD card, and the looks we got, the further we got from the con, it also got so much hotter, and it was just not a good time. But that was the year I met Alfred.
That's funny, because I have a very similar story coming up in a few entries.
Yeah. So, like, AR 22, good. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but again, there were things that put it further down the list. What is your number 10?
My number 10 is AR 2017. And it's pretty close to the middle, simply because I cannot remember it. I know I was there for one day. I know that it was the same day as Remembrance Day. And I remember I was dressed as Victor Nikiforov and met the voice actor for Yuri.
That was my first AR.
And that is it.
Yeah.
I don't remember meeting him, but I know that I did.
Nice.
I know I was there because there is a picture of his panel on my Instagram, as well as a picture I took with the friend I went that day, and that's where my recollection stops.
Very nice. My number 10 is AR 2019, which was my first AR. It was fun. I had a good time. I went with my adopted dad and his family and his girls. So I was basically playing big older sibling, watching after the kiddos. But honestly, it was a vibe. It was a good time. The Sunday, I wore my Spider-Gwen cosplay, and the zipper burst, and the costume was essentially unwearable, and it was a really good thing. I had just bought a maid costume, so I ended up wearing that. Actually, that's the Saturday. I think that was actually the Saturday, not the Sunday. Yeah, because the Sunday I did Sailor Mars, and then the Friday I did Sailor Moon. And those were like the shitty $20 costumes. It was several choices were made that day. I also wore heels for Friday and Sunday, and my feet hurt. But other than that, I had a good time. It was also, if you want, I do have the con vlog for the entirety of that year. It's the only other AR I've vlogged. I have vlogged AR 19 and 2024. I just never vlogged 22 or 23 because I don't think as much happened. I don't think very much happened on 19 or 24 either.
AR is usually experienced by sitting outside of the convention center.
Yeah, yeah. But we went to the rave and I got exceptionally overheated. I did get hit on by some random dude, and I was not enthralled about that. There was the infamous guy running around asking girls to kick him in the balls. The Naruto cosplayer. So there was things that didn't make that con super great, but also it happened. I was there and I had a good time.
It's iconic.
Yeah. Number 11.
We're gonna kick it back about a decade again. Now that we're I've gone through all of the recent cons.
Yeah.
These are all in the 2010s now. We got Fan Expo 2016. Now, this was my first time going to a convention for all 3 days. This year I went was also wrapped up into a family vacation. Mm-hmm. So the whole family was there.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had a really good guest list too. Getting to the convention from the hotel we were staying at on one of the days was a little crunchy, to say the least. Because I did not know the bus system in Vancouver because I was, 15. And the bus driver just refused to let me on the bus for whatever reason, because I didn't have enough bus fare or something. And I don't even know what the problem was. All I know is that my dad was getting increasingly frustrated and the bus driver was not letting me on the bus.
Nice.
And I also remember being at con on the Sunday just long enough to watch Tom Felton's panel, and then immediately going to the ferry to go to the island for the rest of our holiday.
Nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about Fan Expo 2016. I'm pretty sure... Oh, wait, no, I think this was also the same year my dad tried to cosplay Bill Nye. And for whatever reason, everyone kept mistaking him as Professor Oak from Pokemon. And he was getting progressively angry throughout the day.
That's so funny.
I feel so bad that his costume wasn't recognized because I've been there. It sucks.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, he looked exactly like Professor Oak.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about Fan Expo.
We get into the next run of mine where it's all ECC. The next 3. So, ECC 2022 was the only ECC where I've actually done all 4 days. And it was again at the tail end of my insane back-to-back con schedule. And I remember having fun, but I remember being so goddamn tired. all of us that were there, this was our 3rd or 4th major convention in 6 weeks. So I roomed with my boyfriend, the twins, and Sky. So there was the 4 of us, or the 5 of us, I guess, in the hotel room. And so we were already kind of like a little bit overloading a room that was only meant for 4.
Love it.
We were all tired. But that was also the con I debuted, sorry. I debuted Jungling, and I was really sad because, like, it was barely recognized as a costume.
What?
Yeah, like,
so
people,
cute,
like, it was such an adorable costume, and people really didn't, like, say too much. I brought Child, and somebody I was not following, like, a fan came up and, like, was gushing about how they'd watched me make the cosplay, and that was a wild experience for me. And I got incredibly overstimulated in Child to the point I went back to the hotel and changed out of Child after the photo shoot.
Dude, Genshin cosplays are the worst for getting overstimulated in.
Yeah.
Holy shit. They rival only Critical Role, I think.
Yeah, like, Genshin costumes are so overstimulating. So I ended up changing into Chuya. But, yeah, it was a con where I was tired, a little overstimulated by my costumes the whole time, and tired.
I love how you went from one ginger twink to another ginger twink.
Well, I didn't want to change the makeup, so it was one ginger twink to another.
You really got type.
I do. Yeah, it was just, it was there. It was a good con. I enjoyed it, but I was so tired. So that was that.
All right, my next spot. I've honestly lost count.
Number 12.
Number 12? Okay.
Yeah,
number 12.
I numbered them on my page.
Yay.
Yeah.
Number 12, we have my very first convention ever. Fan Expo 2013. This was back when Fan Expo Vancouver was 2 days. It was before they moved to 3 days.
Yeah.
To preface how long ago this was. This was before they had cosplay contests.
Yeah.
This was before they allowed attendee panels.
Yeah.
Where the only things to do at this convention was shop and go to the celebrity Q&As. Those were the only things you could do at this convention. Yeah.
Damn.
To just give a preface of how much Fan Expo conventions have grown.
Yeah, because my first Fan Expo was 2017.
Yeah.
So it was already a bit more by then. I think it was still 2 days though. Or was it 3?
It was they had 3 days by 2014, 2015.
Okay, so you caught the tail end of their, like, shitty con experience.
But that day was great, though. So we only went for the Saturday. It was me, my dad, and my brother. My mom and my dad were on a work trip, like 2-3 weeks before the convention, and I saw an advertisement for it on Facebook, and I was like, hey, we should do this. We should go. Because I had been yearning for Comic-Con since birth. Since conception.
Felt that.
Like, nerddom runs deep in my blood. Mm-hmm. And so I've just been wanting to go to, like, a Comic-Con or something like that forever. And then finally I'm like, oh my god, there's one in Vancouver. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So my dad is like, okay, yeah, sure, we can go. No problem. I bring out my Halloween costume, which was the 11th Doctor, my very first cosplay, technically, depending on how you want to, like, describe cosplay.
Yeah.
My mom threw together my brother a Link costume out of a bed sheet, a pair of my leggings and a pair of my boots and 2 of my Ardeen belts. Because he decided the night before we were going to go that he wanted to dress up. Because that's what he does.
Yeah. That's brothers for you.
Yeah. Honestly, to be honest, could not tell you a single thing about the convention other than the fact that I came home with a couple Doctor Who t-shirts.
Very nice.
And we went out for lunch at a greasy spoon diner that my dad knew from working in Vancouver. But yeah, it was a great time. Nice.
Yeah, my number 12 spot is ECC 2021. This was technically my first con back post-pandemic. It was when ECC happened in December, randomly. It happened just before Christmas, so there was a lot of fun Christmas cosplays. We went down for my birthday. We were only there for 1 day, and I went down with my boyfriend and Sky, or IC Crate Cause. ICCrate.cause, actually, I think it is, or is it underscore? I forgot. Anyways, ICCrate.
Pretty sure it's underscore.
Yeah, ICCrate_cause. It was fun. We did Zhongli and Xiao, and we got stopped so much. But again, we only went for one day, and so we did a lot of shopping. We didn't get to see a lot of like the panels or anything like that. So I was like hungry for what ECC could offer if I went for longer, but I ranked it so low because we only went for one day. But I do remember having a good time. Like I had nothing bad to say about the convention. It was just we were there for one day and it was so goddamn cold. And also the like getting in was so difficult because you had to go through the scanners and then they like body scanned you. And then like because it was like still COVID regulations, anything like that, it was still pretty strict with a lot of things. So that kind of like inhibits fun a bit, I would say, which was fair. Like, it was for public safety, and like, so I wasn't mad about it. It just, you know, I was there for one day. It happened, and I had fun, but like, it didn't rank super high, but it wasn't bad. So yeah, that's my number 12. Number 13.
Cool. So it's at this point where I realize I've made an error in my list.
Oh.
So I was talking about AR 2017.
Yeah.
Except that my brain kept telling me that was Fan Expo 2017. So
yeah.
Take the story from 2017 that I gave 2 spots ago and put that on Fan Expo 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently I don't remember Fan Expo or AR 17 at all. If I got it confused with Fan Expo.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you were talking about AR 17, you were describing what I remember happening at Fan Expo 2017. But I was like, okay, maybe we are. Maybe I'm just having different ideas. Whatever, it's fine.
Nope, I made it oopsie. So we're just gonna act like AR-17 is actually supposed to be here and not there. Because it's not like it matters to override those cons at all.
That's
apparently.
fair. They happened. You were there.
I was there.
Apparently.
Yeah. Because Fan Expo was the one, Remembrance Day, not AR.
Yep.
So... there you go!
My number 13 spot is the final ECC on the list. ECC 2023. We started the drive down at 5 a.m. We were only going for one day. We had the hotel room for overnight, and so we went down for Saturday, and we were driving home Sunday. Because all of us happened to have Saturday, Sunday off, and we were like, fuck it, let's try ECC again. Because this was coming off of the leg of ECC 2022, where we'd gone all 4 days, and we were exhausted, and we were like, let's try the con again, see, like, how it is if we're just going for a day, and if this is a con we want to add into, like, the repertoire of going every single year. Even though, like, technically we had been since it'd been opened up post-pandemic. And I do, like, enjoy ECC, so, like, it wasn't, like, a bad time. I was cosplaying Link. I had a really good time. I had my little stuffed chicken. And so, like, we were, once again, really tired the whole time because I got off work, got to my friend's house at, like, at 7 or so, and then we didn't end up going to bed until, like, midnight, and then we're up and out of the house we were up at 5, out of the house by no later than 5:30, and on the road, and then went to con that same day. So we drove down from Vancouver, got to Seattle, checked into our hotel, passed out briefly, got into cosplay, was at the con until it closed that night, and then went home on Sunday. So, like, it was fun. That was the first year we went into the Summit Building, so we kind of used the ECC as a way to gauge what the Summit Building would look like for SakuraCon, which we were all going to.
Yeah, because it hadn't been used before then.
No, that was the first convention that had the Summit Building, so we were kind of using it as a way to, like, learn the convention center.
I remember you guys were reporting back being like, this is where this hotel is in relation to this.
Yeah, we were, like, posting a lot on our stories about, like, what the view was like, where it was, what the convention was like, you know, where things were put and everything like that. And so we ended up just doing a lot of exploring and not a lot of actual, like, con activities. It was a good time. But again, it was just basically exploring a new space, so that way we'd know for the next convention, and we wouldn't be like, you know, caught unawares at a much larger con where we wanted to know where things were. So it's one of those cons where it's like, that happened, I went, I had a good time, I was tired. That seems to be like what happens a lot at ACC.
It's those 4-day cons, man.
Yeah, 4-day cons like are killer.
Do you want to give one more, since I know you have a couple more than me?
Yeah, I have. And since I didn't put one of the cons I went to, I guess it was so unforgettable that I just, you know, didn't put it up there. The next one is Fan Expo 2020. So this was the last convention locally, and kind of like one of the last cons in general pre-pandemic, because Katsu and Fan Expo happened on the same weekend, and those were the last cons before the world like shut down in like North America. And it was fun. We got a hotel. Me and my boyfriend went. We got a hotel. We went down, and actually he wanted to go see a WWE match. Okay, so this was the con where Thursday was Valentine's Day, and so we drove down to Vancouver Thursday afternoon, and for Valentine's Day, we saw a WWE match. That was my Valentine's Day. And then we had dinner with my friend, because this was Icy Crate Cause's first convention ever. Because they got into cosplay either late 2018 or like middle 2019. So that was like their first con, and I was like, oh, cool, you can come with us, and you'll be able to, like, you know, experience a con with somebody who's been going to conventions, for me at that point, for 5 years. And it was fine. It was a fan expo. I did stuff. I don't have a lot of memories about it. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't great, but I went. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
That's kind of Fan Expo 2020.
That's kind of Fan Expo.
Yeah.
Wasn't great, wasn't bad.
That's like a lot of, like, unfortunately the Vancouver cons, the 1-day cons, super fun.
Yeah, especially when you start comparing them to, like, the other cons on the West Coast.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah, they're there, they happen. Go Vancouver.
All right. My next one.
Your number 14?
My number 14.
Yeah.
Anime Revolution 2024. Now, that may remind... English is hard, guys. Y'all may recognize Anime Revolution 2024, because that is where we brought Cosplay Horror Stories for the first time.
Yep.
Now, the panel, definitely the highlight of that weekend. That one panel.
And I would say the meetup that we did.
But even that, it was so hot.
Yeah.
That it was hard to enjoy that, too. Mm-hmm. So, AR, please stop booking your conventions on the hottest days of the year. Dear God.
Like, literally, if it moved to, like, the end of August, or even into July instead. Well, this year, it's the very first weekend of August. And so I have some hopes that it won't be as hot as it usually is, because the end of August is usually an absolute inferno. That's when we have our heat, like, the heat is the worst.
It was abysmally hot.
Yeah. We'll talk more about my experiences of it, because it's way further down the list.
Yeah. So, to start off, we didn't have a hotel room, because we're fairly local-ish. So we drove about an hour or so in each day, which, you know, that in itself is kind of a pain in the ass, but, you know, when your bitch is broke, your bitch is broke.
Yeah.
Especially since hotels in Vancouver are needlessly expensive.
I know.
Gotta love the city of Vancouver. And your needless tourism fees. But...
I'm not a tourist, I'm a local.
Yeah. One of my costumes kept having issues with stuff kind of falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Which have been addressed. You know, I wore it to Kumo. The panel went off without a hitch. It was fantastic. Definitely the highlight of the weekend, I'd say. Mm-hmm. However, somewhere between the Friday night and Saturday morning, I lost the HDMI adapter for my laptop.
Yep.
Which wouldn't usually not be a problem because, you know, the podcast panel was the Friday night. However, I needed it again for the Saturday. Not only did I need it, but a friend of mine also needed my laptop because their computer would not work with Anime Revolution's AV system.
Yep.
So I was like, no problem, buddy. I got it. I did not, in fact, have it.
Yeah, that Saturday was stressful as fuck.
Yeah, so we go to the Walmart near our house. Could not find what we needed. Okay, shit, fine, whatever. Then, I'm like, okay. At this point, Alycas is having problems with the costume they're wearing for various reasons, and I'm sure they'll get into when they get to this convention on their list. Second from the bottom.
Yeah.
But it gets to that point, I'm like, okay, just drop me downtown, I'll go to Best Buy, and I'll SkyTrain to the convention, and it'll be no problem. Because my panel wasn't until the evening, so I'm like, okay, I got time to fix it. However, my friend's was at 10 a.m.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I don't have time to, like, fuck around with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are depending on me.
Yep.
So I run to the Best Buy, get it, and I'm dressed as fucking Watchung from Heaven Official's Blessing. In the middle of downtown Vancouver.
It's an elaborate costume that's very clearly not something that people wear every day.
It's not inherently comfortable.
Yep.
It's a lot of pleather, too.
Yep.
Which is just making it really warm.
It looks sexy, though.
It does. It looks good. But not very suitable if you're trying to run around downtown Vancouver trying to find the appropriate adapters, because Apple removed the HDMI connector from their fucking laptops!
Apple products.
Yay!
Yay.
I love their UI, their user interface, but fuck, I hate them.
Yeah.
Anyways, your turn, buddy.
Alright, so that was your number 14. So my number 15 was Kelowna Comic Con. I did get to, like, go out to Kelowna and see some of my friends, and, like, the weekend itself was fine. I only went to one day of the con, and it was really hot, and so that was kind of meh. I was in a casual cosplay. The con was so small. Well, the
like
vendors hall,
year, right?
Well, the vendors hall had 6 tables.
Oh, wow. That's smaller than VanCon.
Yeah, it was small. We watched the cosplay contest, which was pretty fun. And like we actually only spent, I believe, a max like 4 hours at the con. Maybe. It felt smaller than a Vancouver one-day con. And so we were kind of like, all right, cool. And then we went to the grocery store, had homophobic slurs yelled at us by some man high off his something at the grocery store. And then we went and made tacos and watched YouTube videos. That was KCC. Yeah, because
that was like the first year KCC happened, right?
No, it's KCC's maybe second year, I think it was, because that was KCC 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next one is a fan favorite, which Alycas has already talked about, but this is before we met, so we went completely separate. Was Anime Revolution 2019. Now, I went to this con with a friend who is, for various and such reasons that aren't important, no longer really someone I do anything with. It was also the first time I'd really gone to that convention, or gone to a convention with said friend, which was, fine enough as it is. I only went 2 to 3 days, I believe, as far as I can remember. However, something that sets AR 2019 apart from all other ARs is that this year, they decided to implement a new system, which everybody hated, because they announced it like a week before. No, not even. They announced the stamps the night before the convention.
Yeah.
So, basically the system was, instead of just having your badge and maybe a wristband, because some cons like to do both, some whatever. The cat did not like that.
Yeah. I picked her up. She did not appreciate.
What the con decided to do was for everybody, no matter if you had a day pass or weekend pass or whatever, you'd have the badge. Then they'd give you a wristband. Mm-hmm. And then they'd also give you a stamp.
Yep.
Why they decided to do all three fucking beats me.
Yeah.
But they announced it the day before the convention, like the night before the Friday.
Or even because like I had already planned to do Spider-Gwen for Saturday, and it made my life really awkward.
Most people who are going to the convention are already in their hotel and can't adjust what they're wearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of, this is how close to the con they were announcing this.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, the massive outrage. AR 2019 is also set apart because that's also the year where they let the same sex offender in their doors multiple times throughout the weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
People with guide dogs were getting kicked out. This was also the year, as Alycas mentioned, with the guy asking girls to kick them in the nards.
Yep.
I was one of those people. Dressed as Rapunzel, standing outside being, "Can you kick me in the nards?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a colorful experience, so to speak.
Yeah. I simply rated it higher than you did, simply because, like, I had a better time, and I was also with a man in his late 40s, so people, like, the creeps stayed away from us because I was with clearly an older man, and that kept us, I think, safer.
Yeah, the experience I had with the friend I went with, definitely kind of, you know, at the time brought it up without having anyone I knew there. Probably would have been a lot lower because I just didn't have a whole lot of friends in the community at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah. Your turn.
My number 16 spot was Phoenix Fan Fusion. This was the first year that it was called Phoenix Fan Fusion. This was previously Phoenix Comic Con. And then in 2018, it was Phoenix Comic Fest, and then now this was the first year it was Phoenix Fan Fusion, which it has retained being called that. I don't have a lot of memories of the con. It wasn't particularly bad, but it was quite hot, and I think I got heat stroke, which happens to me a lot at summer cons. They also implemented wrist badges, or like wristbands. No badge, just wristband, for a 4-day con. People were so livid about that they released a statement during the convention that next year they would have badges again. And, like, there was, I remember seeing some of the discourse, like, some people were like, no, I prefer the wristbands, it's easier for me, but all of the cosplayers were like, please, for the love of God, bring back the badges. Specifically people that were doing, like, bodysuit cosplays, or cosplays with lots of gauntlets and gloves and things like that. It was a nightmare. Because I remember, like, for me personally, the cosplays that I brought for that year, it didn't impact me, but one of my friends was wearing Android 16 for one of the days, and she had an absolute nightmare with trying to, like, put it around the wristband because she was wearing a full suit of essentially armor.
I fucking hate wristbands.
And yeah, they're my least favorite thing. So that kicked that year down a lot further because it was, again, one of those cons where I went, things happened, it wasn't particularly bad, but wasn't particularly good, but then the wristbands just made everything so much worse. So, yeah, that was number 16 on my list.
I do, however, prefer wristbands over stamps.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking hate stamps.
I have my own beef with stamps.
Because there's no point.
Yeah.
There's no point to stamps. They're gonna get washed off, especially for a weekend badge holder.
Yeah. It reminds me of...
The only time I like stamps is how Komori-Con has their...
18 plus.
18 plus stamps.
Yeah.
Because at any point, you can go and get that shit re-stamped.
Yeah.
Because you can just show your ID, and it's fine.
Yeah. And they don't beef about you getting re-stamped or anything like that, because you can't, like, pass that off to someone else.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Your number 17.
My number 17?
Yeah.
Fan Expo 2018. Which, to be honest, again, don't really remember. Yep. I know I was there for one day. I know I was dressed as Ariel. I know I was there with my mom, who was dressed as Supergirl. And I know I almost walked into Jason Momoa.
Which year was that?
2018.
2018. Okay, yeah, I didn't go that year.
And that is about it.
Wait, no, Fan Expo or...
Fan Expo.
Yeah, Fan Expo 2018. Yeah, it was...
Yeah, not a whole lot to say about that one.
Yeah. My number 17 is Phoenix Comic Con, now known as Phoenix Fan Fusion 2016. I literally have, like, no memories of this con. It took me, I shit you not, about 30 minutes of talking through all of, like, my lineups for cons to remember what cosplays I actually wore to the convention. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've already forgotten what they were. I remember we did Doctor Who. Oh, wait, no, yeah, I did Gambit, I did the 10th Doctor, I did River Tam, and a really failed, weird-looking, Green Lantern Corps OC, because my friend really wanted us to do the Green Lantern Corps, and I was like, okay, fine. It was a con, it happened. I shit you not, about 2 memories. 2 little snippets. I remember eating a hot dog.
The most important of con memories, the hot dogs.
Oh, I got heat stroke real bad that year.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, because we left con to go try and find food, and so I want to preface by saying that in my 10th Doctor cosplay, so it was supposed to be 105 degrees that weekend. It ended up being 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was wearing a 5-pound wool trench coat and a full suit underneath of that. So when I went outside, I would take the wool coat off, but I was still wearing a whole suit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, on like the Saturday or whatever, I got heat stroke so bad. And then we went back to my friend's house where I was staying, and that was the first time I ever watched Ouran High School Host Club. Was like kind of dazed out of my brain with a headache, having heat stroke. That's my memories of Fan Expo, or not Fan Expo, but Phoenix Comic Con 2016.
Woohoo!
Yeah, heat stroke. That's it. That's what I got.
Next up, surprise, surprise, is another Fan Expo I can barely remember because it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Fan Expo 2015. Again, this is before Fan Expo had fucking anything to do.
Yeah.
So the entire time was just spent kind of wandering around.
Yeah.
I went with an old high school buddy of mine. I was dressed as Rose Tyler from, specifically, the Idiot's Lantern episode with the pink dress.
Yeah.
Which I had made out of a bedsheet. And as it is, I'm in planning to Frankenstein the fabric from that and turn it into something else.
Nice.
After 10 years, I'd probably do something with the rest of that fucking fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah, really the only memory I have is the fact that I have a picture with a steampunk version of Castiel and Dean Winchester.
Nice.
And that's it.
I just remembered, we went to a Super Hulock meetup at Phoenix Comic Con in 2016. That's another thing that happened. You jogged my memory with that. Yeah. So see, it's one of those cons that I don't think about. Like little snippets will come to me every once in a while. My number 18 spot was Fan Expo 2017. It happened. I got my brother to cosplay, and he did like Superman, but like Clark Kent. So like pulling open the costume and like revealing it underneath. He was tall, jacked, and the suit was very tight, so he was very popular. I do remember these 2 like younger boys. They may have been like 12. I was dressed as Merida, and this was my first iteration of Merida. And these 2 boys like came up to me and they were so excited, and they were like, "We love Merida. Can we get a selfie with you?" And yeah, that was Fan Expo 2017. I went for 1 day. Had a weird street interview that made me feel vaguely uncomfortable. I don't even remember what it was about. I just remember getting interviewed on the street, and I was like, okay, what am I doing here? Yeah, that was it. It happened.
Yeehaw! My next one.
Number 19.
Is going to be forever ingrained in my memory. It's Fan Expo Vancouver 2024. Now, Fan Expo 2024 had a lot of things wrong with it that were not the fault of the con.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the fault of my experience with the con.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the competition, went okay. First competition,
Yeah.
fine enough, There were things that went wrong, things that were fine. That's it. Here is not the platform to discuss those things.
Yeah. Suffice it to say, it was a bit of a horrifically bad time.
I had hosted my first panel at that con, which that went fantastic. That's pretty much where the highlights top.
You absolutely bawled your eyes out in front of, what's his
Adam
name?
Savage.
Adam Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did, and he gave me a hug, and it was delightful. But that's pretty much where the highlights stop for Fan Expo 2024. And then where the nightmare begins.
Yeah.
So, because the hotel costs are so egregious in Vancouver, we tried to go for a lower cost option. Now,
the lower cost for a reason, unfortunately.
Yeah. Anyone who listened to the Cosplay Horror Stories panel from AR already know this story.
Mm-hmm.
About the hotel from hell. So, I had stayed at this hotel once before, and it was fine. It was just for one night, fine enough for what it was. And we were like, okay, let's stay here again for Fan Expo, because it's going to be a good time. Yeehaw. No, it was not a good time. So the night we check in, the hotel room is just clearly the wrong room. It's not what we booked. That takes 2 days to sort out almost.
Mm-hmm.
So we stay in that hotel room for the first night, and we get switched to the room we actually booked the night before, or the next night. But however, that first night we're in the hotel room, the fire alarm goes off. And we're like, okay, fine, whatever, shit happens. We go back, whatever. It's 11 p.m., so it's not like we're getting ready to go to bed yet. I'm con crunching the whole time, because of course I am. I'm not a con cruncher, but this con I con crunched and it sucked.
Yeah.
Never doing it again, ever. However, that was not the first and only time. That was not the only time that the fire alarm went off. It was only the first. Because the Saturday night, same thing happened, but at 3 in the morning when we were asleep. It was so bad that everyone in the hotel room kind of had the collective thought of, should we risk if it's real? And honestly, if it weren't for the flashing lights of the fire alarm, we probably would have tried. we would have risked it.
Yeah.
It was just not a good time. I'm glad I went to the con for free.
Yeah.
But that's about it. There's a reason that's my fourth to the last spot.
So my next 5 are my bottom 5. And up until this point, I haven't had any, really bad ones to add. There's nothing horrific happened. There's been some, downers, but honestly, the last 10 have been, I went there, it happened, moving on. Mm-hmm. These last 5 are so tremendously bad for various reasons, but they are on the bottom of this list for some very valid reasons. The very first of our last, number 19, is Phoenix Comic-Con 2017. 2017 is the year that there was a Punisher cosplayer who was actually clinically insane and believed he was the Punisher, and that for whatever reason, the Green Ranger had committed crimes so grievous, he needed to be murdered on the spot. And he came to the con on Thursday with several loaded firearms, one of which was a double-barrel shotgun, several knives that were very sharp, and was showing people the weapons that he had while at the con. And luckily, the authorities found his manifestos online before he could commit any actual crimes, arrested him, and took him away.
Any serious crimes, anyways.
Yeah, any serious crimes other than, entering a very densely, And this was also, Phoenix Comic-Con's biggest year. That year, it was reported that almost 100,000 people attended that con. It was...
And they still haven't recovered since.
No, they have not recovered because, in 2022 when I went, there was only 30,000 people that attended. I could tell the difference.
Yeah, because that happened, and then San Diego got their panties in a twist trying to sue other cons for using Comic-Con.
Yeah, so they changed their name, and, it just... it absolutely irreparably damaged the entire convention.
Which sucks. It's not the fault of the con.
No, because, like, before that, it had been really fun, and it also, like, kind of made the convention go downhill. Because before that, I had ranked some of the other, like, cons that I had gone to pretty high. But this one had some really high peaks and some really down lows. Because that Friday, there was some people were outside in 105 plus degree weather, standing in line trying to get into the convention because the convention had to immediately enact emergency security measures, and so every single person was having to be, like, screened and checked, and the, like, security was so tight. And it made for a lot of, like, funny memes, but it also meant so many people were so pissed off because they weren't allowing a single prop in. You couldn't bring a Harry Potter wand. You could bring nothing.
Didn't they rebel with bananas?
Yes, people would bring bananas. And so it made for a lot of really funny photos. And so there was some, like, funny memes to come out of it. But it was...
Honestly, props to the con, though, for being so on it with security.
Oh, no, they, like, cracked down immediately.
Yeah.
However, 400 people got admitted to the hospital because of heat stroke.
Yeah.
That con. And the Friday was so bad. We ended up accidentally skipping the line because we were looking for where the end of the line was, found what we thought was the end of the line. It wasn't. Then somebody was, like, motioning for us to come in, and then we ended up inside the con and did not leave for the rest of the day. So we bought some very expensive, shitty con food. But, like, because of that, it created some, like... I had made a bow and a bunch of arrows for Merida because I was doing, like, this really cool warrior Merida. Couldn't bring any of that to the con. There was just a lot of things that just made the con not great. I got my period at that con and ruined a white dress by bleeding all over it.
That's another cosplay horror story.
Another cosplay horror story.
For the AR one.
Yeah. So there was just, like, a lot of great memories that I have about that con, and then there are a lot of, like, really terrible memories. I talk about this con so much, even to this day, because it was just, frankly, it was... So
I've lost track of how many times I've been told stories about this con.
and it's always a new story. I'll be like, oh yeah, and then that happened that year. Well, there was just... It was just also just, like, such a shocking thing to have happen at a convention. Like,
there's not very often that the convention you go to turns into a true crime podcast.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I saw the guy. Like, we walk in, it's packed, I see him, I'm like... That's a real gun. And my boyfriend is beside me. He sees it and goes, that's a real gun. And we hightailed it out of there. Because I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Because that same year in Phoenix, there was a mass shooting at the mall. At one of the malls. And
Yay,
so,
America!
America! And so, like, mass shootings were on the rise. And so people were scared. It was kind of a scary con. Like, it was iconic. It was iconic. She was iconic.
For all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to give one more story to even us out a bit more?
Sure. I can talk about another terrible con that had a lot of great highs and a lot of really bad lows.
Hell yeah.
So, that would be Fan Expo 2018. It started out fine. We were having to transit in, and that was my first time ever transiting into Vancouver. And so that was an experience, and I got kind of harassed by a homeless man dressed as, Ariel. Because
dude, the old men have it down for Ariel, and I do not understand why.
The old men absolutely are down egregious for Ariel. Every time I've worn Ariel, there's been some old man just, like, frothing at the mouth.
They're really into the fish.
It's the fish and the red hair. Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. That got harassed going to the SkyTrain by some random old homeless man. Got some really weird looks to the point my cousin had to stand in front of me while I was on the SkyTrain, dressed as Ariel. But then the rest of the day actually at the con was fine. There was this little girl, and she was so excited to see Ariel because that was her favorite, so I sang to her.
Cute.
It was adorable. See, this is what I mean. Like, it has just, like, these really big lows and these really big highs, and then it just, like, ping-pong back and forth. And then I was going through a whole bunch of health issues at the time. I was in the middle of being diagnosed with my enemy of all enemies. So I have interstitial stasis, which is painful bladder syndrome, but at the time, I was not fully diagnosed with it, and so I wasn't, like... I was all over the place with what... I knew... Actually, no, I had just been diagnosed around that same time. So it was my first year since being diagnosed. Yeah, because I was diagnosed at the end/beginning... so the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And so I was still, like... There's no medication you can take for it. There's literally one medical procedure, and that is to bypass your bladder, and you wear a bag for the rest of your life. And then they're like, you can do this with your diet, and you can cut all of these things out of your diet, and then slowly reintroduce them to see which one really affects you and which one you can kind of skirt by. So things that I cannot have, or I will be in excessive, horrible pain, is anything high on the, like, pH scale, essentially. Anything really acidic, I can't touch. Tomato, pineapple, and citrus are, like, the worst. They are the worst of the worst. I can't touch them. And so that Saturday, I was dressed as Black Widow, and this is also the only time I've ever worn this cosplay out because I had such a bad experience cosplaying her. I am shapely. Okay, I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I am shapely.
I have small waist, wide hip, and boob. Okay, like I have a figure, and in a skin tight bodysuit, there ain't nothing left to the imagination.
Unfortunately.
So it was such a problem that I was getting weird stares from not just the men, but women. Everyone was giving me the up and down, slow panoramic of my body. And I was like, wow, this is so not good. Like, at first I really enjoyed the attention, and about an hour in, I was like, I feel naked.
I feel objectified.
I felt so objectified. It was really not a good time. And this con was a couple months before my brother's birthday, and he really, really wanted swords from SAO. And that was, like, the one thing he really wanted, because I was like, what do you want for your birthday? I want to get you something. Excuse me. There was exactly one booth selling the swords that he wanted. Like the little foam swords. And so I went to go buy them, and the guy running the booth looked me up and down and was like, you make a really good Black Widow. And I was like, oh, thanks. And he was like, yeah, you've got the body for it. You look good. Ugh. And I was, yeah, no, I was, if there had been, no, literally, if there had been any other booth that sold those swords, I would have walked away. I was in the middle of paying this man, and he throws that at me, and I was like, I really want these for my brother. I just got horrifically objectified for a present for my brother. That was not how I wanted my con to go. Like, my cousin was standing next to me, and she was like, ugh. Like, ew. Yeah. And then we had lunch, and I ordered tacos, and I was like, hey, no tomato on them, I have an allergy. And the guy was like, okay. So I get my tacos, I eat one of them, and I open up the other one, and I was like, shit, there's tomato in this. And so for the rest of the day, I was in horrific levels of pain. Like, we ended up leaving early because I was in so much pain. And, like, I could have dealt with the objectification if it wasn't for the pain. But I wanted to be out of there so badly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be gone. I also, to pee in that costume, had to strip down naked.
I love bodysuits.
So, there was just so many reasons why it was not a good time. The Sunday of the con wasn't too bad, though. I had a really good time on the Sunday. I wore my Kylo Ren costume that I'd spent 2 months working on, which actually, if you want, there's still, like, the construction vlogs for that up on my YouTube. They're like some of my earliest videos. They're bad, admittedly, but they're kind of like a fun little time capsule. But yeah, so the Sunday, the con ended on a good note, but it definitely didn't start on a good note. The Saturday was horrifically bad. So yeah, that's my number 20 list. That was Fan Expo 2018.
My next spot goes to another convention I hardly remember. Because it was 11 years ago, which is Fan Expo 2014. I know that I cosplayed a version of Harley Quinn.
Sorry. You had an eyelash on your face? I'm so sorry.
Just getting my face caressed over here. What would my girlfriend say? No, I know I did a version of Harley Quinn. Not any canon version.
Mm-hmm.
But the version that 14-year-old me could afford. Which was a red tank top that was too big. A red tube top that I wore as a skirt. That I hand-sewed little black diamonds onto. And black leggings that I hand-sewed little red diamonds onto. That's pretty much the con.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly don't remember a single thing about that con. If it weren't for the photos that I have that, like, my parents took that weekend, not a single thought. I know
fair.
I was there,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
Yep. All right, now we get into my number 21 on the list, which is one that these last three are
They're doozies.
there's some doozies. I did not have a good time.
My bottom three look like nothing comparatively.
Yours are I was there, don't remember it, and then mine are I had the worst time of my life. And you might be thinking, wow, Fan Expo 2018 sounded really bad. How do you mean there's three more that are worse? Yeah.
They're all in a span of 2 years.
Yeah. Because we went through a bunch that are like my really old cons, and then now we're back to ones that happened in the last 3 years. So you had a lovely SOC 2023.
Oh, it was a great
A fantastic one.
Top 5 con.
We're now going to talk about my experience of SOC 2023. So it starts off with, like, everything started off pretty okay. There was this local kid that I know who was 15 at the time.
If that.
No, they were 15. And they were coming down for the con as well, and their dad was supposed to be coming with them. He was driving down. But I thought that the kid's dad was going to be at the con too, and so I had reached out and told the kid, hey, since this is your first convention outside of Canada, outside of Vancouver, if you need anything, I'm here. The dad kind of took that as, oh, yay, free babysitting. And so for the entirety of Friday and Saturday of the con, I was babysitting a 15-year-old. Which was not how I intended to spend my SakuraCon.
Who would otherwise be a unaccompanied minor.
Yeah.
SakuraCon.
Because this kid knew like 2 other people that were going to be at that con, and the 2 other people were 17 and 18 respectively. And so I was like, the hell? You're going to be alone at this con? Firstly, I'm going to find your father.
Because SakuraCon is not a con I would recommend minors for.
Oh, no. It's not even a con I recommend you going to if you're under the age of 18. Yeah. Like, you can during the day. Same with Katsu. Katsu's another con where I'm like,
there's nothing really inherently in the programming that makes it so that minors are unwelcome.
Yeah.
However, the atmosphere of the con feels a lot more adult than a lot of the conventions we have locally. This side of the border.
Yeah, the cons on this side of the border are a little bit more, like, kid-friendly.
Yeah, they're more focused on bringing the whole family out.
Yeah, whereas SakuraCon is, let's get day drunk and fuck around. Like, it also happens over Easter weekend, so people are out here in some skimpy little outfits. Like, it's not necessarily...
Lots of suits.
Yeah, and so because the convention is geared towards adults more, the attendees are expecting more of the people that are there to be adults, so you're more likely to get hit on by, like, an older person thinking that you're probably just a young-looking 20-year-old when you're actually 15. And also this kid was wearing costumes that were...
Like Yelan from Genshin Impact.
Yeah, Yelan from Genshin Impact. Like, they were wearing girl cosplays that weren't super covered. And so
of rather sexualized characters.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, hell no, you're not going to be alone at this con. But then that also meant that when my friends were going to, like, get drunk or do different things, I now had a 15-year-old with me. And so I was like, okay, well, I will, not be doing those things. I was also battling one of the worst bouts of gender dysphoria that I had almost ever had.
Yeah, because Alycas here was originally supposed to be part of the bunny suit Mario group that I was hosting, but because of said dysphoria issues, they had to drop out day of.
Well, I was supposed to be the Peach, and I had styled this wig beautifully. I had bought a new bunny suit for it, and it came time to me to change, and I was literally having a violent panic attack. Like, I was sitting there shaking, almost crying, and I was like, if I change into a girl cosplay right now, I'm not leaving the hotel room. I am not leaving. I was so uncomfortable. And so, like, the Saturday wasn't bad. Or no, the Friday was good. I had a good time on Friday, which is why for the con vlog, like, Friday, I'm showing us what we're doing. I, had a good time. I was cosplaying Toma. We got photos. I had fun. It was a great time. I also filmed a TikTok with one of my friends where we ended up having to, like, we ended up kissing a few times for the TikTok. And so this also is important for the video. My boyfriend and I have, like, a running, like, a whatchamacallit, like, basically an agreement
yeah.
that, like, if it's for content, I am allowed to, like, kiss my friends. But he just needs to be informed of it, obviously. I'm not gonna, like, do it without informing him and just being like, hey, by the way, this happened. And that's literally all I really have to say. I don't take advantage of that. Like, this was the one and only time I've ever taken advantage of that. So, and I probably will never do it again because just the situation ended up snowballing out. But that ended up happening on Friday. And that is still... That video and the other video of my friends basically doing the inverse of what we did went, like, mega viral. And to this day remains the most viral video ever of my TikTok career. And I posted those early Saturday morning and got inundated with comments that was suggesting I was A, shipping incest, and B, the video went viral before I could inform my boyfriend of what happened. So he found out that I kissed someone else on his TikTok For You page. So I was expecting to be broken up with, honestly. I was like, this is it. I'm gonna get broken up with, so my Sunday was bad. I got COVID, because one of my roommates somehow, like half of my friend group contracted COVID, at that con. My God, what else happened? I think...
Your phone broke, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, my phone got broken, but, like, not badly to where I couldn't use it, but, like, my back camera got stepped on during a photo shoot, and I don't know what happened to it, and no one else around knew what happened to it. So, like, there were so many things bad that happened. And, like, I barely saw any of my friends that I was supposed to see at the con. I barely saw you. I saw you in passing twice.
Yeah, we saw each other the most on the Friday.
Yeah.
Right before your phone broke.
Yeah. And then it was just not a good time. Anything that could have, like, gone bad to make my day worse was going bad. And it was just a not good, very bad, no good time.
Just like the child's book.
Yeah. I didn't get broken up with, by the way. My boyfriend was actually quite cool about it. But, like, he had sent me the ominous text of, we'll talk when you get back.
Oh, I fucking hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
Yeah. And so I was stressing. Like, because, like, he sent that to me on Sunday. And he was like, we'll talk about it when you get back. And or on the Saturday. But it really hit me on the Sunday. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get broken up with. This is gonna be the worst. Like, this is not how I wanted my weekend to go.
If someone text like that, it'd be like, at least be like, don't worry about it, but I want to talk about it when we get back.
Yeah.
Or like, something.
Yeah, something. So, there is a vlog of that up on my YouTube channel, by the way, if you want to watch.
All right.
So that was my number 21 on the list.
Okay. Well, my second to last spot. It's Fan Expo Vancouver 2019. This one I remember only a little bit more than my last entry. I went only one day with a friend that I had at the time, my mom and my grandmother, because she's been to a couple cons with me, because she's kind of into some of the stuff that is shown at cons. Like, she likes a lot of Studio Ghibli movies and stuff like that. And my friend wanted to do some Riverdale cosplays based off of the CW show Riverdale. So they were Tony and I was Jughead. And they felt really kind of anxious about cosplaying, so I did like this really big like black eye type special effects on myself to try and like be like, hey, like they're not staring at you, don't worry, if they're anything they're staring at this fucking banger I have on my face. Which although leads to a pretty funny story, because I posted a selfie on my Facebook with like no context or anything. So like all of the comments underneath my selfie are like, oh my god, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Like, did you lay this person out? Like, what happened? Including a very concerned call from my dad that weekend, which was really funny. It was also the con where I had my first experience with a photo shoot, which honestly could have gone better. Considering it's just some random photographer guy I found on a Facebook group for the con. It's only so low because I distinctly remember talking about the con when we left, being like, if this is how Fan Expo is going to stay, I don't want to come back.
Yeah.
Which I kind of kicked myself for, because that meant that I ended up missing out on the last convention before COVID, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how long it would be until I was able to go to another convention, because I'm pretty sure that was my last con I went to before.
Like pre-pandemic?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
If it wasn't AR.
Because I feel kind of lucky that I kind of went to Fan Expo 2020, because then it meant that, and then also went to ECC 2021, so I only had, I had 22 months between conventions.
I'm pretty sure Fan Expo 2019 is the last one, because I know Fan Expo Vancouver's kind of jumped around dates. Yeah. So it really depends on when the year Fan Expo 2019 actually was, because I know it wasn't too long after Fan Expo 2018, it was within the same 6 months, because of the dates jumping around.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's my experience at Fan Expo.
So bad that you didn't go the next year.
Yeah.
And or just so meh.
It wasn't even necessarily anything bad happened. It was just wow, so meh. This is really kind of boring.
Yeah.
Well, especially because if you go to the same con a lot, you see a lot of the same vendors, you see a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
The guests don't really change a whole lot, especially because at the time, a lot of the popular CW shows were still running, so they'd get a lot of the CW cast while they were working in Vancouver.
Because it's all filmed here.
Yeah. So it's just, it was really not worth it.
Yeah.
Well, as it is, I only go to Fan Expo now if I can get a comp badge for panels.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Fan Expo. Yeah. I hope that this year maybe things will be better. I say that every year.
well, they are under a new contract, I think, this year. So I'm hoping for upgrades.
Yeah,
as long as it's not all in the basement this year, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I am going to miss the convenient seating, if that's the case, because I like how the one benefit of having all the panels in the vendor's hall functionally is that you can sit wherever, whenever.
Yeah, yeah. So my second to last, number 22 on my list, is AR 2024. You already previously heard some of the major things that happened in this con, but I threw together last minute kind of your Huacheng, so I con crunched that thing, and it is beautiful for a con crunch cosplay. It has French seams. It's beautiful for a con crunch cosplay.
Lots of texture.
Lots of texture. That costume is so pretty.
Really, the only problem with it was that we didn't have time to install actual closures into the bracers and the belt, so it was glue on Velcro.
And in the heat,
because of the heat, it was just coming off.
Yeah, yeah. So that did cause issue. But I threw together a Sasuke cosplay, and
Sasuke.
Sasuke, Naruto. Anyways, because my friend wanted to do a Naruto group, which a lot of people ended up falling out for that one, and so we ended up with not the size of the group that we wanted initially, but I showed up. I was Sasuke. I got heat stroke that day. To the point I was delirious on the car ride home. And I drank water, and I stayed to the shade.
I think you just maybe didn't eat enough.
And, well, I still ate, though.
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure why, but for some reason my body said absolutely not. And, I hadn't slept a lot in the leading up week, though.
Yeah. All the details for that.
There were so many, So, like, we did the panel, that went well, and then pretty much
really
soon
well.
after the panel, I think that was when my adrenaline ran out, and I had, like, not even heat exhaustion, it was full-on heat stroke.
Yeah, because if it weren't for the fact that our panel that day was so late at night, we would have just dipped halfway through the day, I think.
Yeah, because it was so hot inside as well as outside, and, so, yeah, I was so delirious on the ride home that I couldn't complete full sentences.
It was an equal parts scary as it was funny.
Yeah, like, yeah. And then the Saturday, I woke up, obviously still having heat stroke with a massive headache.
At the very least, heat exhaustion, yeah.
I was supposed to do a cosplay that I had A, not cause tested, B, wasn't even sure entirely until the moment I started putting things together what it was all supposed to look like. Because I was going to do a Demon Hwa-Chung with my friend Emma, and she was doing Angel Shailien. And so I did it. I put on the makeup, I got the wig on, I got my horns and everything, I got into my cosplay, I looked in the mirror, and immediately hated it. I wanted it off my body so fast. I was like, this, I don't like this. I remember coming down the stairs, seeing you, and was like, I want to take this off.
Yeah.
And we hadn't even left the house yet. Then, on the car ride to the convention center, I almost vomited like twice. I was so uncomfortable. And then we got to the parkade. I remembered to bring a backup cosplay because as soon as I put the cosplay on, I was like, I was hosting a Danmei meetup, so I knew I needed to bring a Danmei cosplay. And another friend of mine was borrowing my only other Danmei cosplay. So I was like,
they look great.
They looked great. They looked so cute. So one of my comfort cosplays is Wei Wuxian from what's it called in English? Anyways, a Danmei cosplay. And so I knew that no matter what, I would feel good wearing that cosplay. And it also was, like, pretty light and breathable. Yeah. And so when we got to the parkade, I ran to the nearest bathroom, profusely emptied all contents within inside of my body, and changed into Wei Wuxian.
Which, if anything, it's a good thing you felt kind of like shit that morning, so you brought a backup.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine how that day would have gone if you hadn't.
I probably would have gotten, actually, I didn't even feel well enough to get on a bus to go home.
Yeah.
Like, that is how bad I felt. Was, like, not well enough to even get on a bus and go home. So, yeah, I emptied the contents of my entire body, changed costumes, had a better time, but I was still had a horrendous headache, still was sweating bullets. It got to the point where I asked one of the people running one of the, like, cafe booths for a cup of ice and started dropping ice cubes down into my binder to help bring down my core temp because I was so hot. I ended up taking most of the costume off just before your panel, and then we ended up leaving after your final panel.
Yeah.
Because I was so sick. And then I, like, didn't go Sunday morning at all. Because I was so sick. Because it was so hot, I completely changed what my costume plan was to something completely casual, so I had the excuse to wear a tank top and a skirt. Yeah. So, like, it ranks so low on my list because I was genuinely extremely ill, and, like, both the car ride Friday and Saturday, I was delirious in the car on the way home. Like, unable to complete sentences, unable to, like, do anything. It was so bad. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah. I was very worried. Like, it was to the point where on Sunday I contemplated going to the hospital. Like, Entropy's mom was like, can I take you somewhere? Like, you should not be doing anything. Mm-hmm. And I ended up, like, Did you call out to work the next day too? I called out to work both Monday and Tuesday. Yeah. Because I was just that ill. Like, I had heat stroke. Like, most ARs, I get heat exhaustion on the final day, and so that's fine. Like, I'm fine the next day or whatever. But this one I was ill for several days, and even on the Wednesday when I did go back to work, I still had a headache and still wasn't feeling good. Mm-hmm. Like, it was so bad. So yeah, that's why that one ranks second to last on my list. What's your last one?
So my last is a con that I have not met another individual who has been to this con.
Ah, yes.
It is a con where I am surprised is still running. It is VanCon 2015, or for those who don't know, probably the vast majority of you, it's the Supernatural convention that was run by Creation Entertainment that was in Vancouver, that apparently still is, somehow, in the year of our Lord and Savior Hatsune Miku 2025. However, the price has increased like 300% compared to 10 years ago, which even with inflation is fucking insane. Now, the thing about VanCon 2015 is it was a small convention. There was not a whole lot to do. So you get there, there's the ticketing registration, there's the table for buying your photo ops and autographs, and then there's 2 rooms. One, which is the vendor's hall, and the other, which is the panelist room, where there's only one panel happening at a time. Which, you know, for how they have the convention framed, you know, it makes perfect sense. Because really, if you're going to the convention, fucking English, please. You're going there to see the guests talk. That's pretty much what you do when you go to one of these specialized conventions.
There's not a lot you can, like, do necessarily. I mean, I feel like if they really wanted to increase how a Supernatural convention was run, like, have some type of, like, interactive game.
There was, now that you mention it, a costume contest. Which, honestly, my middle school Halloween costume contest, I think, was run a little better. Because because of course everyone's cosplaying from the same show, because it's Supernatural convention. So I'm dressed as Castiel from Supernatural, but like the Leviathan version from season 8, because I'm that much of a nerd that had to do a specific type. So they'd bring out all of the Dean cosplayers on stage.
Yep.
Not one at a time, all at once. Yeah, so there wasn't like a walk-on or anything.
Yeah.
Then all of the Sam cosplayers, all of the Meg Master so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Everyone got just a still of the show, not signed or anything, just a printed picture of a still, the screenshot of the show.
Jeez.
And for whatever reason, the vendor's hall closed like 4 hours before like the end of the convention. Like they were still like panels were still running, photo ops were still running. So me and my friend who went, the only photo op we could afford was Osric Chow, who plays Kevin Tran on Supernatural. And however, what we did not realize is that photo op was at 9 p.m.
No.
5 hours after the vendor's hall closed.
Jeez.
Which meant there was nothing. Not a single thing to do. So we pretty much just stood around for 5 hours until we were able to line up for our photo op. We met 2 lovely people from Seattle. And had a good time talking to them.
Nice.
Who had gone on like a whole tour circuit of a bunch of these Creation Entertainment Supernatural conventions, and they were like, yeah, this is like our 4th or 5th one.
Damn.
Or whatever. It was something. But yeah, I saved up all summer selling sodas and chips at like car shows and stuff in order to be able to afford this convention.
And it was a letdown.
Yeah, I looked it up out of curiosity a couple weeks ago to see if that con was still happening, because I was talking about it to someone. And yeah, the tickets, I spent $60 for my one-day pass to go that year, and weekend passes are now almost $400 Canadian.
The fuck?
And that does not include anything but access to the panels and the vendor's hall.
You're shitting. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Damn.
you have to pay. It's almost like they took a cruise ship model, and they're like, you have to pay for everything. Every single thing extra. You pay for your boarding, and then you pay for everything else. There's nothing that comes included.
Damn. Like, I feel like if I'm spending $400 to get in the door, I better get a free autograph of my choosing out of it.
And then, oh my god, this drove me nuts. So, typically when you go and get a photo op at a con, you get the photo then and there. Like, you take the picture and they immediately print it out for you and you can take it home.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it was on a 1-day delay. They really were trying to push people to get 3-day passes.
Jeez,
right? But because, you know, I'm 14, 15, I got you to do in the summer.
Yeah.
I was going to summer camp the next day. Like, I'm this little.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't just go and pick up the photo.
Yeah.
So, like, oh, no problem. We'll ship it to you. Da 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 da. Yeah. 6 months later.
Oh my god.
I am emailing Creation Entertainment, like, once or twice a month, being like, hey, where's my photo?
Yeah.
Give me my photo.
Yeah.
6 to 9 months later, I finally get it in the mail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, fuck Creation Entertainment. Please let the CW people free from their contracts.
Literally release them.
Release them. I know you still have Xena under your thumb. Let them go too. Lucy Lawless deserves peace.
Yeah. Alright, so now we have the last con on my list, which I feel like the reason why it's last on my list is there was literally nothing good I have to say about it, and it did result in the ending of one of my friendships.
Don't you love those?
Yeah. So I feel like it's justifiably on the bottom. Like, there were some things about it where if it wouldn't have been for one thing or the other, it would have been higher on the list simply because it was really boring. But then the parts of it that were bad were, like,
historic.
Yeah, to the point it ended a friendship. A friendship that I had had, mind you, since I was 12. A decade-long friendship ended at this con. So, I had taken off... So I had bought the tickets for this convention initially end of 2019, I had bought the tickets because it was supposed to be for 2020. And then, obviously, the pandemic happened, so they rolled over to 2021. And then there was an increase of COVID around the time of the convention, so they ended up postponing again till 2022.
A lot of cons did that, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cons did that. So I had these tickets since 2019. And at that point, I wasn't sure if I was going to actually be able to attend, because they were like, oh yeah, we're going to send everybody their badges. And I was like, you're not, because the last time you did that, they reached my house in Canada the weekend I was in, the weekend of the convention, when I was, 1,500 kilometers away.
And that's why a lot of American cons don't ship badges to Canada.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Fucking annoying, but I get it.
Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, please. Anyways, that was, a minor issue. There was a bit of a heat wave warning for the con, and so one of the days, it reached 47 degrees Celsius, or about 115 Fahrenheit. It was goddamn hot. So that was the least of the issues for the convention. So Phoenix Fan Fusion 2022 is the year that this con was, and which con it is, because I realized as I started talking about it, I never said which con it is. So yeah, it was Phoenix Fan Fusion 2022. The last year I went to Phoenix Fan Fusion, and the reason why I swore off ever going again. The con was so bad, I have not been back. And
you have expressed interest in maybe trying again.
I have, with maybe, a different friend group, different things, possibly attempting again. I wonder who that would be. Whoa! Yeah, you can see the town that I strongly dislike Phoenix. I'm sorry, guys. Anybody who likes Phoenix and everything, that's great and all. You're very valid in that. I just, have not a lot of good memories about the 10 years I spent living in that goddamn city. Anyways. So it's not without, it's not just because of this con that I don't like Phoenix, but that's beside the point. I'm droning on. Let's talk about the con. So, Usually Phoenix Fan Fusion is a 4-day con. This year, because of everything that had happened, because of the pandemic and everything, they could only get the space for 3 days. So it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday instead of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which was fine. But that meant that a lot of people had paid for like 4 days and were only getting 3. So there was a lot of discourse online. People weren't exactly happy about it. I had bought the tickets so far in advance that I had an extra pass. So I asked my friend Icy Crate Cause if they wanted to come down for the convention. And through stuff with flights and everything like that, they ended up spending $1,000 to come down to this con. Ooh. In flights. We were staying at my friend's house, which was about, with travel time for picking up the other ex-friend, it would take us about an hour and a half to get to the con every day, which was not fun. And this ex-friend, I hadn't really spoken to them a lot since, like, post-pandemic, and so, like, these friends that I was going with initially, before, like, I had invited Icy Crate, they were the 2 people that I had been going to, like, we'd gotten into cosplay together, we'd been going to Phoenix Fan Fusion, Phoenix, that con, since 2015 together. Those were the people that, like, I had kind of, like, in my brain, those were, like, my core con people until, like, 2020, 2021, when I started, like, going to cons with, like, my local friends, which I love going to cons with my local friends. And I realized after, like, going to cons with my local friends how different of an experience it was going to cons with these other people, but that's irrelevant. So she had, like, I continued cosplaying online during the pandemic. I had TikTok, I had YouTube, I had Instagram.
Yeah, cosplay really boomed online over the pandemic.
Yeah, so I moved online during the pandemic, and my makeup skills got so much better. My, like, cosplay skills got so much better. My wig styling, where I bought wigs, things like that, all really exploded in those, like, between the 3 years, because, like, the last time I'd gone to a con with them was 2019, and we were all around the same level. So there wasn't any, like, discrepancy in, like, skill between us. But then by 2022, it had been, like, what, 4 years? 3 years?
3 years,
3 years since I had been to a con with them. And they had seen any of my, like, talents, you could say, in person. And I had completely eclipsed them. Which one friend was fine with. She was like, yeah, I haven't cosplayed in 3 years.
Well, you want your friends to succeed.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah. So one of my friends, the one I was staying with, the one who was driving us every day, she was like, I'm glad that you did so well. I ended up helping her with one of her cosplays to get ready for the convention because she wanted to do Supergirl. It looked great. She looked great. But, like, you know, the other friend had not touched cosplay since 2019. And one of her costumes that she wore on that Friday was a pleather jacket that had been spray painted in 2019 and had been sitting in a closet in Phoenix for the last 3 years. And so the pleather disintegrated on Friday. And so she was incredibly bitchy about it the whole time. I had reached out to a photographer in Phoenix and booked a shoot for me and my friend Sky because we were cosplaying 2 characters that were shipped together. And so I paid for the photo shoot, everything like that. I had talked to the others if they wanted me to book photos for them, or if I had, like, said, oh, here's a photographer, and I had, like, because I now, like, book photo shoots and do things like that. Like, that's a thing I do at cons now, and I wanted to continue that. So I had asked them if they wanted photographers, and the friend said no. But it was very clear during the photo shoot that the one ex-friend was very upset by all of this. Because A, her costume was disintegrating, and B, it just was, like, very clear to me that she was upset that I had booked a photo shoot for me and this other person. And I was like, okay, but the rest of you are not in the same fandom that we are in, and also it would have cost me an extra $25 USD per person to add. So And I only had the guy for like 30 minutes. Like, I spent $100 for this photo shoot. I was going to get my money's worth.
Well, there's always photographers roaming cons.
Yeah.
Doing impromptu photo shoots for people. You know, it's very likely they could have found a photographer on their own if that's what they wanted to.
Yeah.
They're not hard to find.
I even then took photos of them, like, on my phone, which was a nicer quality than their phones. So, like, they still got nice photos out of it. I still did photo shoots for everybody, like, all of my friends. So that was Friday. And then Saturday, I was cosplaying. We were doing a, like, DC group, and I was doing Zatanna Zatara, which I was really excited for this cosplay. I felt sexy. I felt, like, cool. It's
impossible to not feel sexy when you're cosplaying Zatanna.
It's so true. And so we get to my friend's house to pick her up. Her dad answers the door. Now, this is a man who is in his 60s and has also known me since I was 12. I want you to, like, marinate with that.
You can probably see where this is going.
He opens the front door and goes, "Wow, full body scan. Look at you. I didn't know you, like, you know, had all that." And I was like, "What?" And I felt incredibly uncomfortable. Now, the previous night, we had gone to, like, the store. We had fixed my friend's costume that had disintegrated because she was going to wear that with us on the Saturday. And, so we had already spent a lot of time working on her costume. She was still not happy with it and was, like, very visually upset the whole day. And I was like, oh my god, please just, ugh.
You know, there's one thing to be upset about, like, your costume falling apart or not going right, and there's a complete other when you...
Well, she made us fix it and pay for the fixes.
And there's another when you take it out on your friends.
Yeah, and she was clearly taking it out on us, and it was so upsetting.
You know, shit happens, props break, costumes break, things rip, you know.
Yeah.
Or seams pop.
Yeah.
You know, that's not your friend's fault.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because I had made, like, this really cool card prop, so I had poked holes through some large playing cards and ran invisible wire between it so that way I could hold the cards between my hands. And so it looked like I had cards suspended in the air, and I was so excited for that costume. And then for the rest of the day, I felt so incredibly uncomfortable after the words her father told me. And to the point I have never posted those photos and still... Like, I've thought about just completely deleting them out of my phone, because every time I see myself dressed as Zatanna, in specifically that outfit, I feel viscerally uncomfortable. Like, absolutely viscerally uncomfortable. And when I mentioned that to her dad, she just kind of shrugged and was like, oh. And I was like, that...
You're being overdramatic.
Yeah, and I'm like, excuse me? And so, like, the whole day, she was pissy and, like, ended up crying at one point, kept disappearing on us, and was just really upset the whole time. And, like, we tried taking photos of her, and she didn't like any of the photos, and she didn't like anything. So we ended up spending a lot of time outside trying to get goddamn photos of her. And then refused to say a singular word to my friend Sky. Like, other than the first initial introduction or a hey when we first arrived, I don't believe they exchanged a single word, and that was not for, like, Sky not trying. Like, it was very clear that this person was very upset with Sky's general existence in my life. And I was like, okay, well, we actually speak to each other. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. And then so we ended up leaving on the Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Programming goes until midnight. There were things that I so badly wanted to do. Like, there were so many things I really badly wanted to do, but we ended up just leaving because she wanted to go home, and she lived about a half an hour from the convention, and it wouldn't have made sense to drive her home and then come back. Because we'd already paid for parking, and it would be another $20 if we moved the car and came back. And so we just went home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the Saturday of a con. And we were just like, okay, whatever. Sunday comes around. She spends the entire day crying. Like, literally just ruins her makeup at one point. We have to fix it because she didn't like the way her wig looked. because we did the androids 16, 17, and 18, and she had bought a wig from a like beauty store, and it was not great. I had tried to fix it, but there was nothing I could really do because it was thin and bad, and I told her as much. A couple days beforehand, I was like, this isn't a good wig, you should have just asked me and I would have either brought you a wig or bought you a better one, because I had a beautiful lace front wig. I was Android 18, and I had a beautiful lace front wig that I had spent a bunch of time styling. I had contacts, like all weekend I had contacts and really fancy makeup and shoes and everything. Like, my costumes looked good. And this, like, very clearly upset her that I, like, looked good. And it rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so then, there's just so much that happened at this con. Anyways, she spent the whole day crying, kept disappearing on us, and then we also left at, like, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. And then went home. And then we flew home. And my friend was like, I spent $1,000 to be here. And that was, like, the worst con ever. And I was like, yep. And then I have never spoken to that other friend again. Because I was like, why are you treating me like the enemy? Like, what the fuck? So, yeah, that was the worst con on my list. I'm sorry that I talked for, like, 13 minutes about that con, but it was just so bad.
The last cons on the list are gonna take up a lot of time.
Yeah. The first cons take up a lot of time because it was good, and the last cons on the list take up a lot of time because it was bad. I think it, like, whenever I think about bad con experiences, I think about that one, because I'm like, it ruined a friendship. Yeah. Like, yeah, so that was those last three. I'm sorry they took so long to talk about. Hopefully you were entertained by my miserableness of those last three cons.
Yeah, so I think that officially makes this episode the longest.
By far, by like an hour.
So I hope that you enjoyed our little ranking of cons we've been to.
Yep.
I know this is quite a lengthy episode, but you know, how else are we gonna get back into the swing of making episodes? Yeah. This
was a fun way to, like,
it's not at all like we had planned to record 4 episodes today and are probably only doing this one because it took so long.
Yeah.
Not at all. That would never happen to us. Not ever. We are professionals, you know.
Absolutely. I am a stone cold professional. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
How the fuck do we end these again?
You usually talk about our merch, and
we have merch on fucking Teespring.
There we go, Teespring. Yeah.
Links are all on our Instagram account at Circus Cosplay or Circus Productions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow us. Email us if you have a podcast idea at dressupdisasters@gmail.com.
Yeah.
That's where I'm the one. If you message us, realistically, I'm gonna be the one to respond.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't even think.
I'm just I don't
even think you've actually logged into the Instagram account.
I'm already logged into 3 different Instagram accounts, and so my Instagram is like
4, dude.
Okay, well, I'm proud of you. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this entertaining, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Go yell at Cass to log into our Instagram account.
Yes, please do. Bye.
Bye.